Let us pray. Dear God, Heavenly Father, for another day that Thou hast blessed us with, we say thank you. For all that Thou hast done for us, oh Heavenly Father, throughout our lives, we say thank you. Dear God, as we prepare for our talk tonight, pray, oh God, that each one of us be blessed as a result of it, and that we do not keep it to ourselves, but whatever we hear and learn tonight, we pray that we will pass it on to others and practice it ourselves. Bless our facilitator, oh God. Bless her real good. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We thank you very much for logging in. Our facilitator for tonight is Ms. Angela Fitzgerald. She is a graduate of Virginia Union University with a BS degree. She has a master's degree from Virginia State University in counseling education. And to further prepare her for her talk tonight and for helping so many people in her field, she went to Capella University. And at Capella, she received another master's degree in human sciences, growth and development, and family services. She's well trained, well facilitated, if there's any such thing, because she's constantly in this, constantly counseling, constantly called upon to be a counselor in these fields. We thank God for her, and we also thank God that she is a member of Fifth Baptist Church. At this time, Ms. Fitzgerald, it's all yours.
Thank you, Reverend Brown. I appreciate your introduction and your accolades. I just want to say that, yes, I am a member of Fifth Baptist. However, I am not in the elitist group of a cowboy nation, and I just want to make that clear. So association does not always have its privileges, but that's for another session. I am so thankful to Reverend Brown, my wonderful church family, and the Richmond community for inviting me to help facilitate this group, this talk tonight. Mental health is a topic of discussion that has been long overdue in our community. And so with that being said, I am very honored to facilitate this discussion. Hello, is anyone listening? So exactly what is listening? What is it and how do we do it? So let's first define what listening is all about. Listening is the process by which you receive spoken information and sometimes unspoken. Listening can come through unspoken messages of body language, of facial expressions, of gestures. And so it would be up to the receiving person to interpret what is the message that is being sent forth. So the main purpose of listening is to focus on messages that other people are sending to you, to understand other people's communication, to critically evaluate the messages they are sending, and to monitor nonverbal signals, and to indicate what the interest is, and to also pay attention. So what do? Take the time to understand what people are saying and the messages that they are sending. Listening is always important. And I have many people ask me, if you know my email, what it actually means. My email is activelisteningforyou@gmail.com. And I have many people ask me, what is active listening? What is active listening? What is that all about? And why is it important? And so that is some of the foundation for what we will be learning tonight and for other sessions along this series. So Michael Purdy wrote an article and then eventually a book, Listening in Everyday Life, a personal and professional approach. And and Deborah Borisov in 1989 and then into 1990 start looking at the importance of listening, what people heard and what they didn't hear. And so this is just a section of the article that they wrote. The natural human being is not a writer or a reader, but a speaker and a listener. We have all heard the old adage that children were to be seen and not heard. And I know that that is the case for many of you. And I definitely have heard it a time or two in my rearing. As adults, we are afforded the opportunity to speak and be listened to. The ability to speak and control speech, therefore, becomes a source of power in American culture. The child learns that the parent has the last word. And I'm pretty sure that you all have heard that as well. And often cannot speak until spoken to. The truth is, the young student can speak out only when called upon by the teacher. The rest of the time, he or she is expected to listen. We listen to the voice of authority, not children. Listening has consequently come to be associated with passivity, oftentimes with weakness. It has become custom that we talk back and forth to one another, but do we actually listen to one another? This attitude trivializes listening, and listening training becomes largely ignored in the classroom, in businesses, in the industry of various types, and also in our community. And that is very unfortunate that we have developed an attitude of not necessarily listening to one another or hearing one another, and definitely not understanding one another. So when it comes to our children, what are our children doing? What have they been doing during the pandemic? Well, for one, when they cannot be heard in their own environment, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's at home or among their friends, unfortunately, they've been turning to social media, which has been greatly impacting their mental health status. They have resorted to participating in pranks. One of the biggest things on TikTok is the bathroom challenge. And I'm pretty sure that if you have been near a radio or a television of late, you've heard some of this. Students are taking to the bathroom challenge of TikTok, where stealing has become a commonplace from schools. An interviewer that I observed interviewed two students of high school level and asked them the following question: why are these pranks so important to you? And why are you doing them? The students responded, they really aren't important. And they paused. We do them to get attention and to have our voices heard. And I pondered on that because that is a profound response to a question and to acts of random violence across the nation. How powerful is this platform that students, children, and adults alike are even taking to this challenge and committing some of the most awful and unthinkable acts to themselves as well as to others, causing countless violence, unlawful acts, as well as vandalism for the simple attention seeking and not being heard. Some of these acts have often become criminal in behavior. The second challenge that students and children are listening to is schools and teachers are warning parents about the new slap a teacher TikTok talent. School districts and teachers, and even here in our own city and state, are warning parents about this trend that has also been taking place since school has returned, where they're issuing warnings, and because the consequences are severe to students for facing the participation consequences of this challenge. It is also believed that there is a link to the devious lick challenge. And this has been going on for quite some time in our society, where individuals walk up and physically assault other individuals. Just recently, when there were numerous and countless crimes against our Asian community, this challenge became very prevalent again, where our Asian brothers and sisters were just assaulted beyond belief, both men, women, and children, with this challenge of the devious lick. These students are stealing, they're damaging property, they are assaulting one another, adults and children alike. They are slapping teachers. And the challenges encourage students to do these acts, be caught on camera, to post videos. And just this news release that is prevalent here was featured in Missouri, but are prevalent across the nation. What what are children really doing? And for what purpose are they committing these horrendous acts? School violence has also been the result of students committing crimes during the pandemic. The statistics before you are crimes that students committed since the pandemic, January 2020 to the present. People injured or killed in a school shooting, 12. 3 people killed. 10 school shootings with deaths or injuries. 2 and even more since this was published have now occurred, some within our own state. During the pandemic, 9 police officers were injured. School employees and teachers and other adults at the school have also been killed. And we look in our mental health community and say, what are our children doing? Who is listening to them? How can we help them and their parents and families? So a Christian teacher, a school teacher, asked children exactly, what would you like to say? And we found humor in some of the ways that they responded. Let's take a look. They were asked to write a letter to God. And Reverend Brown, this one is definitely for you. It says, Dear God, is Reverend Coe a friend of yours? Or do you just know him through business? Our children are speaking Are we listening? Dear God, thank you for the baby brother. But what I prayed for was a puppy, said Joyce. Another letter said, Dear God, I bet it is very hard for you to love all of everybody in the whole world. There are only 4 people in our family, and I can never do it. Dear God, did you mean for a giraffe to look that like that? Or was it an accident? Asked Norma. These are some of the things that our children are saying. So are we listening? God is. We should be doing likewise. Sadly, these are some of the other things that I hear and that I've been hearing for quite some time. Am I going to die because I don't take the shot? My mom is so nervous, she won't let us out of her sight. It's not fair that my family is dying. I hate virtual learning. I want to see my friends. I'm home with my parents all day, stuck in this house. They fight all the time. Help, I'm depressed. Sadly, I spoke to an individual and her children admitted, I haven't been to school since February of 2020. My mom said our house was too dirty to do virtual school, so I didn't. Now she's afraid to send us back to school because we can't take the shot. When I was at school, I could talk to people who got me. I have no one to talk to. These are some things that our children are saying. And unfortunately, some of them feel very threatened to disclose the things that they are saying. And whereas our children who are being taught in the Christian community are writing letters to God and expressing their thoughts and feelings, some children don't know the power of prayer or expressing their feelings to God or anyone. What must we do? Let's start having an open and honest conversation. We just have to do it. We must do it. We can begin with talk with your children. That within itself is a very powerful task. Many times children feel as if they're just spoken to, fussed at, and there's not an engaging experience. So let's begin to actually talk with our children. Actively listen to their expressions. Be intent on observing what they say verbally and observing how their body language is expressing the nonverbal messages. Explore and identify feelings and fears. Try being non-judgmental and honest about them. When children feel as if they're being judged or critiqued, they're not necessarily about what they're going through, what they are feeling, and they develop a premise of being invisible. And sadly, it can even take place in their own home. As adults, we know that we can be in a full room of people and feel alone. Children can go through the same experience. When interacting with your children, brainstorm ways to include them at home and in the community. They thrive most when they are valued, when their thoughts and feelings and interests are included. They have more buy-in to the events in their home as well as in the community when they too can participate and are included at the highest level, the same as adults. If there are difficulties with embracing challenges that are in the home and with the children, seek support. Support is available to families through family counseling, Christian counseling, mental health professional services, and even a mentor may be a positive benefit for children. And we want to make that available to them so that they too can have the support they need to thrive and be successful. What do we do? Take time to understand what people are saying and the messages they are sending. At this time of year, beginning in October and going through December, people and children alike suffer from seasonal affective disorder. The change in seasons, the weather, not being able to get vitamin D through sunlight, and being able to get out and do activities as they normally would really affects the mental health of everyone, adults and children alike. It is a verified mental health challenge. Please take time to talk to the individuals around you, especially our children, and find out what they are saying, what they are in need of. Please know that this is the highest time for suicides. Suicide prevention is crucial during these seasonal changes. There are many professionals within our congregation, as well as myself, who are available to be of assistance to you, your children, your friends, your colleagues. Please reach out to one of us so that we may determine how to best help you. We are available and we are listening. And I too am listening. And at this time, I would like to open up our discussion with Mr. Henderson's assistants and find out how we can help our children and each other in improving our mental health awareness and finding out ways, determining ways how we can listen to one another and our children to maximize our well-being.
Hi, Angela. It's Veronica McCall. How are you?
Hi, Ronnie. How are you?
I'm good. Look, I guess one of the questions I've always had, if you suspect, and I don't have anybody in particular in mind right now, but just in case I ever do, if you suspect someone is depressed or grappling with some information or something is going on, you just know something is off. How do you even first approach somebody without, offending them or angering them? What is one of the first ways to even approach that?
And so it really does depend on the person.
Okay.
And that's a great question. That's a great question. When you see people that are depressed, a lot of times people are very good at hiding their depressive symptoms.
Right.
And I always related to the commercial where the lady has this smiley face sign,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
has it on in the community, but when she gets home, she takes it off. And
Yeah.
some people are very good at masking their feelings.
Absolutely.
But when you have prolonged sadness, differences in activity participation,
Right.
whether or not they are avoiding having conversations both in person and on the phone,
Okay.
whether they have no interest in participating in family events or outside events,
Right.
differences in sleeping patterns, in
Okay.
eating patterns, in weight gain, weight loss, becoming introverted, whereas they once were extroverted. Those are
Right.
just some of the signs. And
Wow.
so you can begin with, are you okay? I've noticed some slight changes
Right.
in your tone of voice, in your, demeanor. I noticed that you missed this family event. Are you okay?
Okay.
Making yourself available
That's
to
great.
have that conversation. It may be an individual that you can just come out and because you know them best and say, I am just aware of a few symptoms of depression.
Right.
Is that what's happening with you?
Right.
Let's talk about how you feel.
Right.
A lot of times that's important. As I said in the slide, some people may have experiences, life experiences, and they have no idea of the feelings that they're even experiencing.
Okay.
Being able to sit down and have a conversation, knowing that someone has made themselves available to have that conversation.
Right.
A lot of
That's
times
great.
when people find themselves depressed, they think that their thoughts and feelings aren't important to someone
Right.
else.
Right.
And this is the same for children as well. They feel as if their thoughts and feelings aren't important.
Right. Right.
Somewhere
Nobody's gonna
along-
hear me. Yeah. Yeah.
Somewhere along the way,
Okay.
they feel like they have become invisible.
Okay.
Because when you are a child in an adult's world, or you are an adult in a world where there is so much turmoil around you, you tend to become invisible.
Right.
And
Perfect.
even if people see you, they may not take the opportunity to sit down and have that conversation with you
That is
to
true.
really determine what your thoughts and feelings are like.
Okay.
And so just making yourself available
Right.
to have that conversation
Awesome.
would
Awesome.
be a great start.
That's great. That is some good stuff. Thanks, Angela.
It sends a message to them. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm watching you.
I see you. Yes.
I see you. You
Yep.
are important.
Yep.
And that alone will hopefully open the door to a
Awesome.
great conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Good evening. This is Brenda Jeffers. I
Hi,
heard your
Jeffers.
part of what concerning the children. And as a retired educator, I'm wondering is what could be done or is anything done about the little ones or the teenagers who are afraid. They're afraid to go to school. They don't want to do this. They're washing their hands all the time, afraid to touch anything when they're out in a store. And just a case of just fear. And they're aware of people who've been dying and aware of people, all over. I'm much aware of the COVID, situation. I'm concerned about those children in particular and what's being done. They can't get to virtual learning because the account on that is a certain amount they can take in. Then you have some that go to school, they're afraid to go to school. And if you're afraid, you cannot learn. You got to sit on the bus with people. You may know or not know. You don't know if they have COVID or not. It's just a whole ball of fear with a lot of the children. I'm understanding. So I don't know if you have any answers or what have you, if you understand what I'm asking, but I'm concerned about that.
Yes, ma'am. I most certainly do. For quite a number of years, probably close to 20, I was a school counselor and teacher with Richmond Public Schools. And fears existed in our children then. And as a teacher, of course, we would always send them to the school counselor because it never seemed as enough time existed in a day to address our concerns. And in actuality, that's exactly what prompted me to become a school counselor. The school counselors now are available to speak to children about their fears concerning in-person learning, riding the bus, washing their hands in the classrooms, standing in line with children, being in groups and centers with children. And it actually is a situation where it's going to take the village. It's going to take the village in order to create an environment of listening, of action. And in the second series, which I will announce the focus of the second and third series, in the second series on November 8th, I have been blessed to have students that will actually be interviewed to talk about what it's now like for them to be participating in face-to-face learning. And every fear that you shared, you'll just about hear that in their interviews. And so it really is a collaborative effort that must begin at home. And yes, ma'am, I heard you and I understood every concern that you have because they are most valid. Children are experiencing death in their immediate family, in their extended family.
Right, right.
Some of their friends are ill.
Yes.
They too are afraid of becoming ill.
Mhm.
They are very intuitive because they are picking up on the fears of their parents and their family
Yes.
members of whom they live with. And so that's why an open, honest conversation is so crucial to them. At the level in which they are able to understand, please have a conversation with them. Please make sure that every fear possible that can be addressed is discussed in the home, whether it's something as um, simple or small as I don't like to wash my hands every time I do something, all the way up to I'm fearful of riding the bus. I've seen students wear gloves to school, like you've seen individuals wearing gloves in grocery stores.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
They're also intuitive enough to observe what is in the media. They are listening to us, they are watching us. And so we also have to be careful about the messages that they are receiving from the media. On last week, I believe, or it was the week before that, CBS has a new anchorman that we are all excited about because he is an African American male and contributing to the CBS morning show. And he had a stunning interview with his daughter. And during that interview, he learned just how much time she spent on social media and some of the things that she interacted with while she was on social media. He was shocked to learn that she spends over 6 hours, 6 hours on social media at any given time
I can
within
believe
a
it.
week.
I can believe it.
That is far too much time on a child's hands. And
I
so
can
we
believe
have to
it.
be cognizant of the messages that they are receiving. Please begin at home with addressing their fears. Communicate with individuals whom they interact with. Try to also let there be a united front between home, school, after school programs when they are traveling to other family members' houses. Please wear your mask. It is important to wear your mask. And it would be beneficial to them to have the explanation. I know a lot of people grew up where it was the adult was the authority, just as Michael Purdy said, the adult was the authority. You were seen and you were not heard. In those days, unfortunately, that's an antiquated action. That's an antiquated policy. We must inform our children and support them in the fears that they have. So when you ask them to do things, you don't have to go in depth, but possibly provide an explanation for them as to why you are asking them things. They become less resistant if they understand your request, your mandate, and why it is important to follow. We were always taught to follow the directions first time and to be obedient. And now we are in an age where a little explanation will go a long way in helping children understand the importance of being obedient and why we should do certain things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I hope I
So the
answered your
kids, the
question.
children in school, are they getting any guidance from the counselors while they're in school as a group?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Are the counselors providing some guidance to them and some, I don't know, some answers to their questions in the different schools? Have there been programs set up within the schools for the children to go to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
library and the media
Yes.
center and stuff?
Yes, ma'am, they have. In each section of the school, from what I am told, and I'm also working with individuals that are teachers that will also be able to answer your questions as well. The Richmond Public School teacher that I spoke to said that they were trained before the students returned on how to answer questions of the students. Am I going to be safe coming to school? What happens when I have to stand in line? Will there be hand sanitizing stations? Do I have to keep my mask on at my desk? How am I going to be protected from other students? And so the teachers and school administration and staff did receive training before they returned back to school of how to best assist students in answering that question. The same information and beyond was taught to the school counselors as well. I do not know at this time whether counselors have gone back into the classrooms as part of guidance lessons. And I will definitely find out the answer to that because unfortunately I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer that question at this time. But it was also too shared with them the importance of speaking to students on a one-to-one base if a student was found to have extreme anxiety, because that is another key factor in being able to understand children. The anxiety levels of children are extremely high right now
Yes.
because of the COVID pandemic, because of changes to home environment, school environment. And change will be one of the major topics that we discuss in our second session. As we know, change can be very difficult, and it's very difficult to embrace it as adults. It is the same for children. Children have a very difficult time, especially special needs children, in embracing change. And so counselors and school administration personnel are readily available and willing to assist children whose anxiety levels become extremely high during the school day, and are readily available to listen to them and to implement coping skills to help them manage the not only emotions that they are experiencing, but also to calm the fears that they are having about returning to school and being a productive part of the school day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Ms. Fitzgerald, my name is Zenobia Gary. And do you think that distrust plays a role in the lack of their communicating in terms of their confidence being kept, where some students might not want, let's say, if they talk about home situations, to be revealed?
So, Ms. Garrett, thank you for that question. And that is an aspect of everyone in my profession, confidentiality. And what should be understood with anyone is if someone comes and shares something with you, or you open the door for a conversation with someone, whatever is shared should be confidential. It tells us in our church covenant not to needly expose the infirmities of others.
Yes.
And we need to be good stewards of that command, whether it is in our church and religious and faith communities, or whether it is in our professional practice. Confidentiality is a must. The only time that confidentiality should ever be broken is if anyone is found to be of danger to themselves or to other people. And the person that you are in conversation with should understand that as well. In being good stewards of each other, we should always guard the reputation of each other. But when our conversations become of grave concern, where there could be danger to the individual we're in conversation with, or if it endangers or could potentially endanger the life of someone else, that it is absolutely crucial that additional assistance be sought so that the person you're in conversation with can truly participate and be supported in their efforts of greater well-being. And
Thank you.
it is a concern. People speaking out and talking with others for the lack that their concerns or fears may be exposed to other people. Sometimes we can be a very judgmental society, and we see it all the time in the mental health community. People are afraid to expose who they really are. And so, as Veronica said, when you invite people to a conversation, be ready for what someone shares with you, good, bad, or indifferent. It may not be exactly what you think you're going to hear, but go into it with an open mind, um, knowing that whether it's you who can help or a trained professional, there is support for that individual.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Miss Fitzgerald,
Yes, sir.
Earl Brown. During my days of teaching, there were many students who were on at that time. We older persons know Ritalin. Even we were having summer camp. We found out that some kids, we were wondering what was wrong, and parents would fill their children up. I mean, almost overdosing them because they were walking around like zombies. When the other kids were playing and so forth, they were drowsy, sleepy, and everything else. What is used there? So many parents knew that their kids knew what Ritalin was, and when they recommended to the kids, gave it to the kids, many times the kids would refuse to take it because of the effect. And parents would use Ritalin sometimes as a babysitter. What is done today? Has there been a replacement for Ritalin? Our kids have their problems.
Medication management of mental health disorders should only be facilitated by a trained professional. A lot of times we see parents take children to primary care physicians who may not collaborate with psychiatrists or psychologists who are managing medication or prescribing medication. It is key for parents who do have children on medication to observe the symptoms that their children are experiencing, whether it is weight loss, weight gain, whether it is excessive sleeping. And even when it comes to sleeping, there are some who are more affected in the morning hours, or either who are more affected in the afternoon, depending on the dosage and how it is delivered to the body. And so all of these things are exceptionally important to observe, whether they're at home or whether at school, because that would provide documentation or observed behavior for the trained professional and the prescribing provider to determine whether or not there are adjustments needed for medication. Medication is still widely used to alter acting out behaviors. For some families, that's not an option. For some families, more natural ways of behavior modification and emotional behavior patterns or emotional patterns are preferred versus with medication. So parents are using a combination of things. They are still using medication, but they are also leaning towards natural remedies and other techniques to control behaviors of children versus just prescribing medication for them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Miss Angela?
Yes, Miss Brown.
This not Shay though. I missed a little bit of it because Shaylin actually had the computer and not me, but then I got the computer. But
Okay.
I'm not aware if you had said like one of the signs also in children is to watch out, not just like their how they speaking or their actions, but their drawings as well.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
important because they draw and I have a 5-year-old. I mean, I'm sorry, he's 6. I'm so sorry, Sire.
I was getting ready to say.
Yeah, Sire's 6. And Sanad's 8 and Shaylin's 14. But they draw, so they express so much in their drawing. And Sire will come up with with the picture in the drawing, and it will be me with the stomach like there's a brother in there, but no, the shop is closed, but he's expressing that he wants a brother. He doesn't understand there's no more brothers, he's okay. No more boys. He's okay with his sisters, but so those being his drawings, but they also can express that they're depressed in their drawings because I have seen it, so yeah.
Yes. Well, first, leave my little buddy alone. I'm gonna be his protector and give him all of his years because that's important. But you are exactly right. When it comes to art, children love to draw. Some of them are abstract, some of them their drawings are very concrete. And if you ask them to draw their family, it's interesting what they draw, how they draw, and where they position themselves. I've seen an illustration of a child's drawing where they are actually above their family, where the drawing actually almost looks as if a drone has taken a picture. And In this one particular drawing, the child was in the corner. The two parents were together. The two older siblings were together because he was the youngest. And there was a pet in the picture as well that was by himself. And so I asked him to tell me, I said, this drawing is beautiful. Can you tell me about this? And he said, well, my parents are over there. They are doing what they call our secret fussing because they don't like us to know what they're fussing about. My brother and sister are older than I am, and they're always doing stuff together. And they always tell me, don't bother me. You get on my nerves. And I said, well, where are you in this picture? And so he pointed to himself in the corner. And I said, so tell me, you're hanging out by yourself? And he said, I feel like I'm invisible. No one talks to me, and I don't like our dog. And so you're exactly right. Drawings can be an excellent form of expression of thoughts and feelings and how they relate to siblings and parents and where they see themselves, the position that they see themselves in their family. Drawings of family, of things that are of interest to them. It's an excellent way to begin a conversation about what's most valuable to children, and an excellent way of expressing their thoughts and feelings. Also, when it comes to children, journaling is a very wonderful way of being able to write down their thoughts and feelings, to use when it comes to the progress of being able to identify emotion, or to use as a coping skill to express themselves. So yes, we are very encouraging of those two techniques, and we'll be going over those two and more in our second session. Thank you for bringing that to this discussion. I see my clinical supervisor on the line, Mr. Anthony Lee, and I'm going to ask if I have omitted anything, if he would like to contribute to the conversation or comment on tonight's presentation. Thank you for your support.
Always. You did an excellent job. I mean, you touched on everything. You can't touch on everything in one night. So you touched on a lot of things that are vital. You know, only thing I would say is that the drawings and having conversations start out not as conversations, but as interactions with children in something they enjoy doing, so they can loosen up and relax. And I always tell parents, you know, I used to go around and pick out kids, and I said, he's ADHD, this one's ADHD, this one's manic. And they said, how you know without testing them? I said, being one, I know what one looks like. So it's always good to make the child feel normal and relaxed, because, you know, there's enough. I mean, we've gone through an unprecedented period of non-interaction and stuff like that. But, you know, I just want to ask you if you would share with us how we can break the old taboos, because like you said, I was in that group where I wasn't supposed to be seen or heard. I better get out the house. If some grown-ups were in the house and talking, and I better not say anything and interrupt them or disrespect them in any way. So how do you break that taboo with today's children?
And that's a great question. And I'm going to actually combine my answer with a comment that was put into the chat. And the comment was, how do you convey to people that they are important and that you are there for them whenever they want to talk? And so, that changing someone's behavior begins within. It begins with their inner strength. Change has to come from within.
Yeah.
There has to be a desire for change. If you are not receptive, change will not come about. God cannot move a parked car. You have to be willing and receptive to change. You have to determine what your change is all about. What's the motivation for change? We have to know sometimes ahead of time, well, if I do this, what's going to happen? What you going to give me if I do this? And so it has to be identified up front. If there is change to come, what's the desired outcome?
Yeah.
And when you are trying to persuade someone that they are important, be your genuine self. Be your genuine self. If someone is going to trust you enough to confide in you, sometimes our deepest, darkest secrets, they have to know that you are truly and genuinely concerned about their well-being. There must be a bond formed, a rapport developed that says, I trust you enough to share that I may not necessarily be feeling at my best today. And I know that I'm safe enough to come and say, I'm not okay when you ask me if I am. And if it doesn't come on the first go around, it's okay. If you keep showing up, if you keep saying, hey, how you doing today? And if you tell me, oh, I'm okay, and I really feel in my spirit that you're not, it's okay. Because if I ask you enough, that you're going to eventually see that I am genuine about you. You can even say, well, you told me that the last time, but your facial expression says something else. And you know my number or my email address or where I live if you ever need to talk. Genuinely making yourself available to that person and giving them an open armed invitation to include you in their support system or to be that total support system and mean it will convey to them that you are truly concerned about their well-being. And if you provide that opportunity for someone in the same manner that someone, you would hope someone would provide that for you, that may be just the spark that's needed for change. So when I ask you the next time, are you okay? And you give me that face with your hand in it, and you tell me, yeah, I'm all right. You already know what I'm going to ask next.
I don't know if you answered the question, Ms. Fitzgerald. This is Joanne. About at what age would you say is an appropriate age to address a child with their challenges or explain to them about their mental health? At what age do you say is an appropriate age?
To me, and check your email. I sent you an email today.
Okay.
Something I had promised you.
Okay.
In the mental health community, it is unfavorable to put an age on certain mental health challenges.
Yeah.
It's very unfavorable. It's even frowned upon. But when you have children that are very sensitive to noise. They are sensitive to sensations. It could be loud noises. It could be high-pitched noises. It could be, I've even seen children that don't like to walk through grass barefooted. When you have children that are sensitive to large crowds, when you see children are frustrated by the simplest of tasks, when they become withdrawn, when they stay in that room for long periods of time, when they have difficulty expressing themselves, or in the expressions that they have, it's on a variant level, which means it can be really, really sensitive on one end and really, really outlandish on another end. At any age, that's time for a discussion.
Okay.
And so your concerns, even as a family member, when something does not feel right within your spirit, attend to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not exactly what that is all about,
Mm-hmm.
then ask someone to be your sounding board, whether it's another family member, whether it's someone who is able to observe that child, or even if it's a trained professional.
Mm-hmm.
Share your concerns with someone that would
Yeah.
be able to make an observation,
Mm-hmm.
and gather the next steps that would be appropriate to attend to your concerns.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. I do thank everyone for your questions and concerns. Bless your hearts for your support. This is a 3-part series. We will be talking about mental health and mental health awareness, not just for our children, but for everyone that is in your family, in your home. I want to go back to a slide that I thought was absolutely adorable. And I don't know if I can get back to it. But it said, "Dear God, I know that it may be a very hard task loving everybody in the world. I have 4 people in my family and I can't do it." And I thank my supporters and my family and friends. There are people who are on tonight's Zoom that I am acquainted with and colleagues of in the mental health arena, and I thank you for your support. We are always sharing information and material with one another, and I thought that to be a very outstanding question to God. Sometimes we can't deal with one another in our own families. Sometimes it is easy for us to avail ourselves to people in the mental health community and in the jobs that we have versus dealing with those in our own home. And as the children say, that's 100. So if you find yourself needing the assistance of a trained professional, allow yourself to do that. The struggle is extremely real for everyone right now. And being able to reach out to someone and say, "Hey, can you help me?" That is a behavior that is worth change. And again, I thank my Fifth Baptist Church family and Reverend Brown for allowing me the opportunity to bring this topic forth tonight. Bless your hearts.
Thank you so very much. We are leaving here richer in knowledge than when we began tonight. Thank you so very much, and we look forward to November, did you say 8th?
The second session is going to be November 8th at 7 by the same means of entry. And the third will be November 22nd, both at 7 p.m. on this midweek service identification and code here on Zoom.
God bless you. Have a great evening.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
Thank each of you.
Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome, Joanne. Check your email.
Yes, ma'am, I most certainly will. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
you.
Too.